Let's talk about Thursday night, the Bills and the Minnesota Vikings. And there's a chance we get to see the son of one of Buffalo's Super Bowl greats, Don Beebe's son, Chad Beebe, in his second year now with the Minnesota Vikings, wide receiver from Northern Illinois. And Chad Beebe is on the line with us right now. Chad, John Murphy, and I think you know Steve Tasker. We're set up for you here in Buffalo. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, John and Steve. Thanks for having me today.
How well do you know Mr. Tasker? Didn't you used to hang with his sons?
Yeah, I've been to dinner at his house and all that. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure whether to call him Steve or Mr. Tasker.
Well, he makes me call him Mr.
Yeah,
so.
you can call me Steve. Yeah, I was on the phone with your dad last night, asked him because I had to double check to make sure he wasn't coming to town for your game. But he's neck deep in Springville College, right?
Oh yeah. He's at Aurora University actually, and they got all kinds of camp going on and whatnot. He's taking on that new spot there as a head coach.
So you first popped back onto the fans' radar here in Buffalo when you got onto the practice squad last year. You got activated by the Vikings. And I was going to ask you, this time of year again, the teams are forming. You were kind of on that cusp last year of being a practice squad or a roster guy. And what did they tell you at the end of last season when they had used you a little sparingly at the end of the season? What did they tell you about what it was going to take for you to take the next step and become a full rostered player?
Yeah, I think it was just becoming a complete player as far as, when you're coming up to the line of scrimmage, being able to read a defense. It's not just technically route running, and obviously all those things are important, but it was the next level of things, reading a defense and making decisions based off of that and the right decisions.
Chad, you were on the roster last year, but practice squad first half of the season. So you were on the Vikings practice squad when the Bills and Vikings hooked up in Week 3 last season, right?
Correct. Yep.
What do you remember about that game?
Squad.
What do you remember about that Sunday?
Well, obviously it was a little surreal. At that moment I was up in a box, and knowing that my dad played for that team a while back now, just brought up some fond memories, and obviously I wanted to be out on that field, but I knew that I was just going to have to continue to work hard, and hopefully my time would come.
Chad, were you born here in Buffalo? I know right around the time you were born was the time your dad left here, right?
Yeah, I was born in Buffalo, and to be honest with you, I was so young, I'm not exactly sure the timeline. I know I was at the most one, but yeah, I was born there, and then so my memories are very slim when it comes to Buffalo, but I know that my dad thoroughly enjoyed it there.
I was going to say, I bet your dad filled you in on the good times and the great achievements that he had here in his playing career, huh, with the Bills?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And, growing up, he didn't always talk a whole lot of football. I had to kind of pry it out of him, but I know he was very fond of Buffalo and the fans there and the atmosphere. It's something that he would never forget.
Well, I got to ask you this. When you talk to your dad about, his career and the kind of player he was, does he tell you that he was faster than you are now, or what? How does that conversation go? Right?
Yeah.
I know he's not letting it slide.
No, no, definitely not. We're both competitive when it comes to that. But I would give him the edge. I'll be honest with you. At this time now, I would not give him the edge. I definitely would blow past him.
Listen, I've seen your dad lately. You'd run circles around him now, I'm pretty sure. It'd be a big circle too. Yeah, I was on the phone with him last night, making sure that he wasn't coming in town for the game this week. This week, figuring that he was being the head coach. But how much interaction do you call him weekly? Do you have conversations with him about how things are going for you? And I think now more so maybe than any point in your career, he has some pretty solid advice to give you.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely stay in touch, and at this point, he's my best friend, so we talk on a regular basis. Obviously, he's really busy as well as I am, but we try to find time at some point during the week, whether it's once, twice, maybe 3 times, to talk and chat and whatnot. For me, it would be crazy, not to use him as a resource. Him having that career that he did. So for me, it's just staying connected with him and whatnot. So.
Are you going to see the field at all this Thursday? The thought is that everybody kind of sits down, and you have emerged as having what seems to be going to be a pretty prominent role with the Viking offense. Are you going to kind of sit down and watch things Thursday night, or you maybe take a couple of reps? How's that going to work? Do you know yet?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure yet. that's something that we haven't talked about. It's still a little bit early in the week. I'll probably find that out tomorrow. But at this point, just kind of preparing and making sure I'm ready if I do.
Chad, I'm wondering, you know, your dad, Don Beebe, had the speed clinic right out there in the Chicago area, the House of Speed. You must have attended that and benefited from that, right? Did you find yourself maybe referring back to some of the things you learned there at the House of Speed?
Oh yeah. I've been doing that stuff since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
But no, definitely. I mean, a lot of that stuff I fall back on as far as training and speed, agility, and all those good things, and even just from a football standpoint, from a mindset and from X's and O's, all those things have been something that's been instilled in me from a young age, and something that I'm very, fortunate for, and thankful for too. So.
What I was going to ask you is, there's some pretty high expectations there in Minnesota. You feel like you've got a very talented club, and you must feel, do you take it as a little feather in your cap that that's a really tough roster, a kind of a playoff caliber roster that you were able to break into over the last 2 years?
Yeah, no, I mean, our locker room is full of talent, and so, when I first came in, I knew it was going to be a large mountain to climb, but I was all for it, and at the end of the day, I'm just having a workmanship attitude and knowing that I'm going to give it everything I got and let the chips fall where they may, and I'll know that I'll be happy with whatever the outcome is, and so that's going to continue to be my attitude throughout my whole career, whether it's short, long, or in between. I'm just going to continue to work hard and hope for the best.
I wonder, Chad, if there's kind of an atmosphere of unfinished business for the Vikings this year after last year. It wasn't a bad year last year, but many people expected a little bit more. Is that kind of a sense you get being in camp with these guys now for the last month?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all got a little bit of a chip on our shoulders, something to prove, which is always a good thing. Obviously at the end of the day, we're all competitors, and you want to end the season the right way. Everybody has the same mindset and same goal to go win a Super Bowl, and so we're just trying to do the little things right and make sure we put ourselves in a position this year to make that happen.
You came out undrafted last year out of Northern Illinois. And forgive me for knowing some stuff about you. You struggle with injuries at Northern Illinois once in a while. How did that affect your decision to come out and give this pro thing a shot? Were you just never going to give up until they kicked you out the door? And how has that gone for you in Minnesota? Have you been able to stay healthy?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and you're correct in saying that. I didn't have a healthy season my whole career there at NIU, which was hard. Being able to not put up numbers and do the things that I wanted to do to hopefully set myself up for a better shot, at the NFL. When I was first getting into the NFL and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I still got my shot, and so I was going to just, make do with what I had, basically. And again, I'm a man of faith, and so that was a huge part of it. And there was a moment in time before my senior year of college where I was starting to get worn out a little bit. All these injuries started to wear on me, and I didn't know if I was going to play anymore, to be honest with you. And the Lord just didn't let that passion go away from me. It actually grew stronger, and so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna ride this thing out. I'm gonna continue to work hard. I'm gonna come back from these injuries and like I said, make do with what I got and see where it takes me, and now I'm here. I'm sitting in a pretty good position, and I'm just super thankful and honored that I am where I am. And to be honest with you, it is a God thing. And so for that, I'm forever thankful, and I'm going to continue to just do what I can and be the best player I can be.
Chad, you said you left Buffalo. You're about 1 year old when you left Buffalo with your dad, Don Beebe. Have you ever been to a game here in Orchard Park over the years, come back for a game?
Yeah, I have, and I couldn't. My memory's pretty bad. I couldn't tell you when I was, but I know I've made it back to a game. And obviously, it's a great atmosphere. And growing up, I mean, shoot, these guys are huge. Standing on the sidelines, going to a game. It's a dream come true as a kid, and now I'm fortunate enough to live it. And it'll be pretty cool to go back and on Thursday and be in that stadium as a player. It'll be pretty cool.
Looking forward to having you here, Chad. Thanks very much.
Great talking to you, Chad. Thanks a lot. We'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Chad Beebe, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. He is basically